We all know the TV news wherever you are. You wake or woke, it is on. It might be true, it might be false, it might be fake. And if it is fake, then great. At least someone had a plan in making it. And if it's sunny outside, true or false, the news is best avoided altogether. Right now we have big events, big news. We're just crawling out of the crater of COVID, and we are blasted by friendly fire from war in all its glory. As ever, with anything big, we will also get what must be called pot noodle news. Those posts and bites that always say that the free world is lying, that there's a conspiracy backed by Big Pharma, Major Oil, and the weapons makers, the usual suspects. Difficult names and ugly faces, yet these little feeds are easy to open, are ready to eat after just a splash of hot water, have wormy tangles of connections that no one could follow, need just a baggie of spice to give it authenticity, and are all done in 5 minutes, yet, like pot noodles, have no nutritional value and leave you hungry again in 30 minutes. I think it's about time for a ready meal.
Daddy! Happy birthday.
David McMillan at your service, scoundrel to the hidden. You know, when the Russians crossed the border into Ukraine 3 weeks ago, and convoys of military vehicles snaked towards Kiev, and missiles tore the skies to shreds, and dust-covered and bloodied pensioners hobbled from the ruins, and cute children sang show tunes in bunkers, and the funny guy called for help, I thought, to hell with this. Where's my bag? Where's my passports? Where's my book of numbers and my remedies? I was heading for the door with a tear in my eye. Huh? What? Oh, to go and fight. Are you kidding? No. I thought, boy, this is prime smuggling time. In all the rush, finally, after the pandemic, a scoundrel like me will be able to cross continents and borders without too much checking. Strap on a few kilos from the Gulf, Mexico that is, and limp back into the EU wearing a yellow and blue training outfit and maybe a neck brace to stop the laughter. Like Bogart said,
I'm no good at being noble.
I'm no good at being noble. No, I'm really not. But I didn't go. Decided to stay with you. That's sad, really. Or possibly the chemical shortage. But while I'm here, I'll take 10 minutes to pick out the pot noodle opposition when it comes to the opposition to the war. Some regular viewers have chided me for seeming to take the official Western line, but I'm not. I've always taken the view of, well, technically evolutionary biologists. That is, we do what we do because of the creatures we are. And another view of wanting to be the advocate, the media advisor to the Gaddafis, the Saddams, and even the ophthalmologist of Damascus, Syria's President Bashar al-Assad, although he really doesn't give me much to work with. I mostly defended Putin as a once ruthless master criminal. Fine work in the past, but now? He's fired almost 1,000 staffers from his long table, that's 16 feet, by the way, fearing being poisoned. And worse, runs his media entirely for home consumption, where he's already a god. Your media should be to unsettle your enemies, not simply to reassure the already converted. Now, the media coverage of Ukraine is actually heavily trimmed on the edges, But that's not because of some state order or intentional bias. It is simply because the action, the images, the sounds all offer the best opportunities for emotional and effective TV. A lot of the reporting has been first-rate as storytelling. I don't mean fiction, I mean peeling open the best of the visual and human fruit of conflict. Fergal Keane's BBC report on the railway network that operates at night, that's masterful entertainment in any light. I'll put a link for it's called Platform 5, Escaping Ukraine. I'll put that in the description box. You won't find better TV this week. Russia could run its own stories approaching that caliber, possibly, but it has no interest. Just the third-rate Russia Today reports. Here's RT's Man in Donbass, and later in Russian-occupied, or, as they say, liberated. Look, the locals are mostly beyond caring what it's called, and in the city of Melitopol, where the Russians intercepted a Ukrainian missile or two.
Had moved on, and fear had begun to dissipate. At about 4:30 this morning, the city of Melitopol was woken up to 3 tremendously loud blasts that echoed all over the city. As people later learned, these were 3 ballistic missiles, Tochka-U, ballistic missiles that were launched by the Ukrainian military at the city of Melitopol. All 3 were shot down in the air. Unfortunately, these are huge things that carry hundreds of kilograms of explosives. So the wreckage has to fall somewhere, and in this case, it was on these 2 houses. This missile, by the way, is the same type that was used in Donetsk, launched on Donetsk city, causing more than a dozen casualties there, mostly pensioners who were in line.
The debris of which wrecked just a few houses, didn't kill anyone. The news piece is feeble, weak, amateurish, and somewhat misleading, suggesting the missile was directed at Ukrainian residents. The Russians won't let Western media report us in Donbass or the occupied areas, with good reason, I suppose. Few things match the death rate and wreckage of Russian bombing, so reporters can't be let loose. Not on their side. Well, I think just one foreigner has actually got in. That's the famous Chinese Liu Yugang, Louis, and he's just a stooge. Feeble as Russia's RT station is, the more crazy move has been to ban the station from legally broadcasting in the UK, and it's gone from YouTube. So what if it is the official line? If our open society is so robust, surely we can be allowed to judge for ourselves. I'll keep this short. I've got some cakes to eat, but just one example of pot noodle news and why they gain traction, because, yes, there are chunks of truth within. Last week, the Daily Telegraph were quick to post this video of Ukraine's Azov Battalion killing Russian armoured vehicles. Good stuff. The guys clearly enjoying themselves. But who's the Azov Battalion? Well, this group, now clearly needed on the team, are the Nazis the Russians have been banging on about in Ukraine. The Western view has been that they are far-right extremists and termed neo-Nazis, a term bandied around a bit. They are certainly far-right, but not an ideological match for Germany's National Socialists of World War II. Being Jewish is not a death sentence with them, and their tangled connections made for perfect pot noodles in this childish poster that has a bogus flowchart. It has a man, Ihor Kolomoyskyi, at the top, described as Ukraine's 4th richest oligarch. The Jewish businessman has been banned from entry into the US for being corrupt, even though I'm sure he was granted a visa once. I suppose you're nobody these days until you've been banned by the US. He was governor of Ukraine briefly, and he also elbowed his way to become president of the United Jewish Community of Ukraine until squabbling made him form his own Jewish support group. So, publicly and proudly Jewish Ukrainian. Ukraine, Israel, Cyprus passports too. Always said you can't have too many. He put bounties on Russian saboteurs, quite high money, mostly in the Donbass area, and Russia would like to poison him or worse. He also funded a lot of groups, the IDA, allegedly the Azov Battalion, certainly NEPA 1, NEPA 2, and a few other Donbass volunteer battalions. They like to parade around a lot. These are private armies running amok before Zelensky became president, and were correctly accused of brutal behavior with the aim of keeping Russia out. Kolomoyskyi owned 70% of the One-on-One media group, whose TV channel aired Servant of the People, the comedy in which Volodymyr Zelensky played the role of president of the Ukraine, and as we know, he later won the election. That aired on UK's Channel 4 last week. A few people watched it. Okay, now, the pot noodle version of these facts is certainly stirred around. Because of this man, today's President Zelensky is a billionaire, and it's part of the Jewish-American conspiracy. The reality is that Kolomoyskyi is a wonderful crook and a patriot in his own self-serving way, although something of a Nazi too when you think he has such influence over private armies. We know who's done that before. And so Russia has a thin strand of truth in saying there are Nazis in Ukraine they'd like to kill. But that does not remotely justify the clumsy action and collateral damage. And really, there's just not that many of them. As usual, when events demand too much close observation to comprehend, it's easier to say it's all a scam by the rich and the powerful, and the West has a secret hand in it all. Few have the patience or love for detail. If you won't devote the time, you don't deserve to publish an opinion. Unless you heard it from me, Natalik. By the way, Kolomoyskyi's joke nickname around Kiev is Boniface, after a Russian cartoon featuring a lion that tries to take a holiday, but can't stop being a trickster. Boniface's vacation, I must tell you, won the Golden Pelican Award in children's films, and that was at the International Festival of Animated Films in Maya. That's in Romania, and that was in 1966. So there's history. And that's a fact you simply won't hear anywhere else in all of YouTube, or perhaps from anyone alive today. Russian cartoons are an acquired taste, like beluga caviar, mostly too salty and awful. Best stick to pot noodles.
Thank you for your attention, and I hope for your support.
If you'd like to know a little bit more or have a taste of me and the Russians, I write about them and narrate it in Unforgiving Destiny, which most of you have already been through, but a few newcomers, perhaps from Russia, no? Or bouncing off Misha, might not know about it and should spend their money on it. I think so. Unforgiving Destiny by me.